Hi, everyone, and welcome to Teaching Tuesday. Today, we've got a great little Teaching Tuesday tip, which is all about composing. So if you've never taught composing before, or you've taught it a million times, I just want to give you kind of three little C's for teaching composing today. I'm your host, Gloria St. Germain from Ultimate Music Theory, and today we're talking about three C's for teaching composing. So I'm going to start kind of at a beginner level today. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to dive into a few topics. So our first topic in three C's for teaching composing is captivating our chords. And you might think, what do you mean by captivating chords? Well, before we can just start composing, we kind of need to have a little bit of a recipe. We just don't kind of throw everything into the pot and cook it up, although that might be like pasta surprise. But let's start with some basics. So the first thing that we want to do is just understand some basic chord structure. So today I'm talking about what you have access to inside the level 3 supplemental workbook. So the first thing we're looking at today is the root quality and functional chord symbols. So when we're looking inside our Ultimate Music Theory chart, which is what you're looking at right now, the first thing we want to do is identify chords that are for D major. So for those of you that are taking notes, we're in the level 3 Ultimate Music Theory supplemental workbook. So we're going to look at the key of D major today. And in the key of D major, we know that when we're talking about chords, and remember, we are getting into composing, but we have to have a basic structure first. So when we're identifying our root quality chord symbol, we're using the key of D major today. So 2 sharps, F sharp, and C sharp. So this is going to be the root quality chord symbol. Now you'll notice that sometimes the triad is broken ascending and sometimes it's broken descending. But the root note, because all 3 triads are in root position, so the root note is D, and therefore the root quality chord symbol is D. This time, the root quality chord symbol is A. Again, ascending, descending, broken, solid. When it's in root position, the lowest note identifies the root quality chord symbol. But now we want to look at the functional chord symbol. Remember, we're in the key of D major. So here, the functional chord symbol is chord number 1, and that's always using Roman numerals. So that's we think of it as a capital I, but it's number 1 Roman numerals. So that's a functional chord symbol in the key of D major, number 1. The functional chord symbol for the A major chord is 5. So if we count D, E, F, G, A, that would be number 5, right? With me so far? Just give me a little thumbs up if you're watching live or if you're watching the replay. Just love to hear your comments because I love to learn how are you teaching? What can I help you with? So make sure that you join us in our Ultimate Music Theory YouTube channel and also in our Ultimate Music Teachers Facebook group so that you can connect and ask more questions. So let's dive in. Now that we've got our chord symbols, we want to think about how can we help our students understand this. So what I've discovered is that when you write things down and you engage in the act of writing, you actually retain 30 to 40% more information than just by sitting there watching it. So captivating chords in really being effective in teaching and how to learn is write it down. So using your Ultimate Music Theory whiteboard, I usually have my students write things out. So here you can see my students she's written out her circle of fifths. She's got the key of D major. She's putting in her functional chord symbol and she's putting in her chords in here. She's doing it in root position. So she can clearly see D major, chord number 1, and D major, chord number 5 is actually A major triad, right? Is this making sense for you guys? Okay, perfect. So now that we've learned our captivating chords, what are we going to do next? The next thing that we're going to do, this is pretty cool, is it's not just about the music theory of it, but it's about listening to the chords. What do they sound like? What does a 1 chord sound like? What does a 5 chord sound like? And then it's about playing. So what's cool about this is you're going to see that here's my student, and she is just going to be improvising. There's no wrong notes. She's just listening to the chord structure in the bass, And she's just making stuff up just based on the first 5 notes of the major pentascale. So let's have a quick listen to a little bit of her playing. Wasn't that fun? Now, did you notice how you can actually lead your students through tempo, through emphasis, through accents? And there she was, just her list some repeated patterns that she started to implement into her music. So how much fun is that? So I invite you to consider just playing some chords with your students and just give them the freedom to start composing. Composing starts with just freedom, to just no rules, just start to play and engage. And how much fun is that? And you could see as she went through it, she started to develop a little more confidence in her playing, right? And reward your students by saying, "Oh, great job. That was so much fun," right? So we want to make sure that we're always connecting with our students. So that's a great way to get started with your composing. I'm curious, are you currently doing some composing with your students? Just give me a little C for composing in the chat, or yes, I'm composing, or not yet. Let me know where you're at. All right, let's jump in to our second C today. Our second C today is, let's go for it, is creative compositions. So what do we mean by creative compositions? What does that even look like for us? Well, let's take a little peek inside. Are you ready? So when we're looking at creative compositions, we can see here that melody writing has got some rules, right? And if you were paying attention when Cheris was playing, did you see how she was being kind of led to bring the music naturally to a conclusion? The tempo slowed down a minute, the mood changed, and she felt naturally compelled to complete the melodic line and end on the tonic. So when we're doing melody writing, we can end on a stable degree, which is either degree number 1 or stable degree number 3. Okay, so either one. Now, when first starting composing with your students, for myself, I like to give them the rules, which is 1 or 3, but I also like to give them sort of suggestions. Let's just start on ending on the 1. Just start on ending on the 1. It might make it a little bit easier for you. So the next thing we want to do is give them some structure. right? Give them some structure. So here you see this piece of music is actually inside your level 3 supplemental workbook. You can see the rhythm pattern is written out, and we're asking students to identify the key, what's the tonic triad, what's the dominant triad, giving them some concepts, some foundation to start their compositions. So another great thing about the Ultimate Music Theory program is that we've created answer books for everything. And you're welcome, because I know how much time it takes to try to figure everything out when you're teaching, and especially if you're teaching a lot of students. So here inside the answer book, you're going to see that this is just one suggestion, right? I just want you to be aware that this is just one possible answer. But at least as a teacher, it gives you some quick ideas. And here's what I actually do with my students. Once they've completed their exercise, I actually show them the answer book, and I'll say, here's one example. Let's kind of analyze this one, and then let's listen to yours, right? So that's just the second way that you can incorporate creative compositions into your music teaching studio. So the next part is to learn. As we're going through these exercises with our students, this is inside the level 3 supplemental workbook. Make sure that you're working through each step, right? And really acknowledge their wonderful participation and creativity, because that's really what it's all about. It's just being creative, right? They can also take their music and transpose it an octave higher, an octave lower, or even into another key. So make sure that we're really helping them learn how to create compositions. Next is listen. When we're first starting with our creative compositions, I very often have my students write it out on the whiteboard, because when they write it out on the whiteboard, it's easy to erase and kind of change a note, and they get to hear what it sounds like, and then maybe say, that's not really what I wanted, but I wrote it out and I was kind of thinking about it. But it also helps them learn to hear what they see. Right? Hear what they see. For many of you professional educators, I'm sure you could open up any music book in the music store and probably hear the music before you even play it, because we as professional educators have developed that skill set to hear a major third and a minor third, to hear an octave. And we want to give our students those same teaching skills. So have a listen to my student as she is performing her composition. This is her creative composition that she's just written out on her whiteboard.
Okay, Anna, so now let's hear your composition. You did a really good job on that. So let's go ahead and hear what that sounds like. Beautiful. Now, Ayana, did you end on a stable scale degree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you end on the 1 or on the 3?
3.
Excellent. Thanks, Ayana.
So do you see how easy it was for her to simply just get started, and started with her whiteboard, and then she wrote it out and played it a few times. And then we took that to the workbook, where she wrote it in her workbook, and then she added her chords. Then we went back to the piano and she played it with chords. So it is a process, right? It's an absolute process. All right, so let's dive into number 3. Okay, so number 3 in our 3 C's for teaching level 3 composition is, wait for it, compelling composers. Now you might say, Miss Glory, what do you mean about compelling composers? What does that have to do with teaching composition? Well, here's the thing. When you're teaching composers, we also want to make sure that we are listening to others, right? Because just to create freely, that's great. But when we really listen to what other compelling composers are doing, it gives us ideas. So let's have a look. Now you might think, what's so compelling about Mr. Bach? Well, Mr. Bach has stood the test of time, and it's important that we open that little box of creativity for all things musical in our teaching. So when we're teaching about Mr. Bach, invite your students to listen to the melody, the rhythm, the meter, the tempo, the dynamics, and the dance forms, right? So that they have an idea that, oh, you can compose not just in one style, but various styles. And it kind of, gives them new ideas. ideas. But also listen to compelling composers in today's world, because we want to be current, and we also want to reflect on the incredible music history throughout time that really led the foundation for composition. So in the music Baroque era, we really noticed that they have really incorporated a lot of really cool ideas, which of course here you see the little trill. So invite your students to go, oh, that's cute. Maybe I can add a little trill into my composition. So all of this is available for you inside your level 3 supplemental workbook. And here in particular, we're talking about the Baroque era. And just as important as composing is, it's also important to listen to other compelling composers. What did we like? What did we want to hear that was different, right? This one here, you can see the trill. We can see the chord of A and the little mordant that's written above it. So again, it's almost pre-teaching, and then invite your students to try it out. Lots of fun. Another thing that we invite you to consider is implementing gamification into your composition. This is a little composing game. It's called Chord Chaos. It's inside your level 3 supplemental workbook. And Solo and Tito just love hanging out and making things fun. So when you're thinking of composing, approach it from all of these avenues so that your students can really be engaged, and they'll be proud of themselves too. So here's what we've got for today. Captivating chords. First of all, write them out, understand what they are. Creative composition, explore things, whatever your instrument is, right? You can play the bass chords while your students just compose freely. Introduce your students to compelling composers so that they start to listen and get ideas. And we have a little bonus C here today, and that is if you really want to connect at a deeper level on how to teach composing, you can connect with us at teachumt.com. And at teachumt.com, you will be invited to consider joining the Ultimate Music Teachers Membership, where we have, through the years, I've influenced and presented to thousands and thousands of educators around the world. And I am so excited to invite you to our Ultimate Music Teachers Membership. You can check it all out at teachumt.com. Don't forget to leave me a note in the chat. What was your biggest takeaway from composing today? What are you excited to implement with your students? What is that going to look like for you? So thanks for joining me today. I'm Gloria St. Germain, and I look forward to inviting you inside our UMT Teachers Membership. You can learn all about it at teachumt.com. And until next time, teach with passion. Bye now.